according to the New Yorker magazine, the copy of which I have here. And, irony of ironies, it's a woman wearing a Pinocchio nose. And inside is this really glowing piece on Liz Gilbert's book by one Jia Tolentino, who, again, she's a pet of the mainstream media. They love Jia Tolentino. She's brilliant. Jia gives Liz a very serious, glowing book review in the pages of the New Yorker. Right here. Again, legacy media wonders why it's dying. You have a major fucking story in your fucking face of a best-selling author who says, I was going to murder my girlfriend and I had it all planned out down to how I was going to smother her, like Tony Soprano with a pillow over Livia's face. And we treat it like it's so cute. She's a hipster quirk. It's a bug, not a feature. It's the feature. It's who this woman is. She's got thousands, if not millions, of devoted fans. And she is a dangerous person. She writes to her followers on Instagram. She calls them dear ones, and she capitalizes it, capital D, capital O, dear ones. It's like she's Kim Jong-un, and she really may as well be, okay? So I'm going to quote a little bit from Jia's piece. Her, meaning Gilbert's, temperament is so strong and her outlook so positive that she never actually seems broken on the page. When she writes about indecision and confusion, she comes off as clear and decisive. I guess if you're planning to murder somebody, you are pretty fucking clear and decisive, Jia. Right? Now, Jia goes on to write that Liz in this book, she writes about the plan. Jia writes about it. She writes about Liz's writing about this plan. Okay? And so here's Jia paraphrasing that part from Elizabeth Gilbert's book. When Gilbert confesses, this is a quote, when Gilbert confesses that she planned to murder her, Rayya calls it, quote, fucking awesome, exclaiming, quote, you found your darkness, dude. Elizabeth Gilbert is quoting a dead woman. Jia, any journalist knows, double source your facts. If your mother tells you she loves you, get a second source. That is the oldest saw in journalism. Now, so here, New York Magazine, the cut, I printed it out. This is the art that they used. Okay, so this is a fucking love story according to the cut. New York Magazine. This is a love story. Look at them. And by the way, every photo that runs of Elizabeth Gilbert with Rayya is on the fucking nod. Okay, Rayya is a heroin addict. She is a drug addict. She is a reprobate. She is nodding out in every photo, and Liz makes it look like Rayya's just taking a nap. Rayya's sick, and she's just taking a nap, and she's got her head nuzzled into the nape of my neck. And you know who's always framed up perfectly and lit perfectly and looks great? Liz. It's very much, it's ghoulish in the way. There is something very ghoulish happening in the culture right now, something very ghoulish in book publishing right now and in the media. It's the same way that Emma Willis poses her husband, her dying, demented husband, Bruce. I use that word demented medically. Making him look as though he's in bliss with his eyes closed and he's just so, and then Emma warms her head in there in the nape of his neck so she can look like this super loving partner. These women are vultures. Okay, they're vultures. But according to New York Magazine, they headlined this extract of Elizabeth Gilbert's book, My Once in a Million Years Love Story, the readout. When my best friend was diagnosed with cancer, I promised to be there until the end. By the way, Liz skips out. As I said, Rayya wasn't dying fast enough. And then the readout finishes, then all hell broke loose. And just in terms of another crime, this is terrible writing. Terrible writing. You should never use a cliche, ever. As a writer, one should know this. As an editor, one should sure as fuck know that. Never say, then all hell broke loose, okay? There is nothing more trite than all hell broke loose. Nothing more trite. And hell really can't break loose. If you do believe in hell, it's somewhere in situ. How can it break loose? All right. Okay, now this lengthy, I mean, this thing is like 37 pages long when I printed it out. Okay, this extract. So Rayya gets diagnosed with cancer. She goes under treatment for a while, and then she decides she doesn't want treatment anymore. And what she really wants to do is use this to just get high all the time. She was sober, and now she wants to get high and drink and like smoke and just do all the things she wants to do. And Liz is like, great, I'll do that with you. So they've begun using drugs together, and Liz says they're getting out of their minds. Now, this is the author who Jia Tolentino in the New Yorker just told us never presents on the page as broken. Jia, did you actually do the reading? I quote from the extract. Rayya was the one who officially had no future. This is Liz writing, but I was now acting as if I didn't have one either. I dropped everything I was working on and completely forgot about anything I had ever cared about before her cancer diagnosis. Blew off working on the novel I'd been researching for 2 years. Sure, her publisher loved that. Canceled most of my publicity appearances for the paperback publication of my book, Big Magic. Same, publishers love when you do that. Do you know what a privilege it is to get a book deal in this marketplace? And it's been a contracting marketplace for a very long time. Do you know what a fucking privilege that is? Elizabeth's over here taking a big dump over all of it. She then tells us, I canceled all of my upcoming speaking events, interviews, and workshops. Canceled production of my podcast. Sure, the people who were getting a paycheck working on your pod loved that. Stopped calling my friends, told my family to leave me alone, that I'd catch up with them later, started divorce proceedings. This is a person, I mean, who would want to spend any amount of time with this person, let alone purchase her book to spend time in this fucked up psyche? New York Magazine thought it was worth, I'm sure they paid like, I don't know, in today's marketplace, maybe maybe $5,000 for this extract. Okay. Now, we're going to jump ahead a bit to when Liz says she lost herself to Rayya's darkness. And again, it's not Liz who's to blame here. And I quote, did I completely lose my mind that night in the spring of 2017 when she, Rayya, commanded me to give her some cash so she could buy that first gram of cocaine? And I did it without hesitation. In my weak defense, she had looked me straight in the eyes and told me, quote, this is the exact amount of cocaine that will last me until I die. Trust me, I'm just going to need a tiny amount of coke each day. Trust me, I know how to do this. It's better if we buy it once in a large amount. Okay, like anybody who's ever known an addict knows that they are the best liars on the planet. But Elizabeth, who is such a sage that she's a cult leader and a guru, would have us believe that she's so naive to these ways that she believed Rayya when she just said, please just buy me this, just go buy me cocaine once. Just do it once, please. Okay, or Elizabeth writes, was I a total goner a few days later when Rayya told me to go to the ATM again and get more money so she could buy more cocaine, an 8-ball this time, and I did it? Or was it the morning I walked down to a harm reduction agency in Chinatown and registered myself as an active intravenous drug user so I could get clean needles for Rayya? Because I was determined to keep her safe and free from infection. So you see, she was doing a solid. She's doing a solid. As she was dying of cancer and shooting cocaine and opioids, that's rich white woman speak for heroin, dirty, dirty drugs, into the veins of her feet, her hands, her neck. She's such a narcissist. You know, she's writing about a woman who's dying of cancer and allegedly the love of her life. And look at the graphs devoted to Elizabeth and her nasal gaving and her noodling about in this limited psyche, this limited, malignant, narcissistic psyche. My opinion. Or did I abandon myself completely the first time I suggested that perhaps she was becoming addicted to the cocaine and she told me I was a, quote, needy fucking crybaby who needed to, quote, back the fuck off from talking about shit you don't even fucking understand, end quote. And I stuck around after that for more abuse? Liz is being abused here, you see. Not that we're keeping copious detailed notes for our future memoir, which we're going to sell for like 7 figures on the back of Rayya. So if Rayya needs drugs, like we're just going to do it. Okay, now we find ourselves back in a familiar place with Liz Gilbert. This must be what she would call her safe space. We're back on the bathroom floor, weeping on the bathroom floor. Who weeps on the bathroom floor? You could mop your bathroom floor daily. It's still going to be one of the dirtiest places. I would never. But we're on the bathroom floor. Okay. Quote, was it when I started hiding in the bathroom at night, weeping on the floor while she hid in another bathroom, grinding down her cocaine into a finer and finer powder? This is disgusting. Okay. Again, this woman is not here to defend herself. Now, comments over at The Cut, I found this all very interesting. Number one, there are only 247 comments as of Thursday since this story went up online at The Cut last week. It went up Tuesday, August 26th, to be exact. So that is not very many comments at all. Okay. And these comments are about 90% savage. These readers are disgusted and repulsed by Elizabeth Gilbert. And this is a very progressive, self-selecting group of feminists over here. Okay. They have very elastic, like ideas about what is moral, what it is or isn't okay to do in the realm of art and memoir. And they are fucking repulsed by her. It's kind of like, this may be a moment she can't come back from. This may be her Cynthia Nixon in a make abortion great again hat moment. Elizabeth Gilbert is definitely, she may get a special award at this year's Nerve Awards. And I know some of you are like, Maureen, stop saying first annual. The first annual is really grammatically the correct thing, is inaugural. And I get it. And I know, but I like saying first annual because it's a forward looking thing, right? Then we're going to do a second. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, Liz Gilbert. Okay. So this means, by the way, that her extract in The Cut did not even hit the mark of either fun Labor Day reading or Labor Day hate reads that you shoot around to your like-minded friends and say, hey, holy shit, can you believe this? By the way, I sent it to one of my best friends who's a huge reader and a published author. And she said, should I really read this? And I was like, I can't say you should. Like, you have better things to do with your time. So, so I'm going to read you some of the comments, some of the best, most savage, insightful comments over at The Cut. And these people, these commenters, they talk like they're troublemakers. And I wonder, we know we're infiltrating over at the New York Times. I wonder how much we may be infiltrating the water supply over at New York Magazine amongst the writers and the readership. Just a question. Okay. Comment number 1. It's just incredible to me that someone would use the language of AA and self-help to justify abandoning their partner, as Liz does to Rayya later in the book, whom they purport to love at such a time, for whatever reason. Comment 2. How did this solipsistic slop get published? Succinct and to the point. I love it. Another. Read the whole thing, and I must say, it made me quite angry at E.G. for taking such gross advantage of a dying and once sober woman. I am disgusted that she left her in that shape. I am disgusted that she played a big hand in her lover losing her sobriety in such a violent way. Instead of being ashamed of herself and just going quietly to get help to understand her enormous role in this debacle, never happening narcissists, especially malignant ones, never seek help. They're never to blame. And keep another's life private. Now she, Elizabeth, has to make money to pay for all that wasted cash in drugs and all that so-called gangsta living she dragged her sick girlfriend through. This was my theory. That thing up top we were talking about when she wouldn't let the New York Times see her new 600 square foot apartment. I was like, this woman blew through all of her money. Would anyone have guessed it would have been on hard drugs, on street drugs? For her and her dying girlfriend? That's where her fucking money went. And she wants you to listen to her for more money. 2 more comments. Yet another example of The Cut pretending it's just publishing an everyday essay while actually empowering toxic, affluent white women to wallow in self-indulgence and self-importance as they admit to being absolutely useless and cancerous to everyone around them. But it's okay because at least they're admitting it all in a literary way. That commenter just read The People at the Cut for filth. We tip our hats to you over here. Finally, the last comment I selected, edited for clarity. There appear to be two Elizabeth Gilberts in the public eye. One who writes letters from love and one who's a dishonest addict. There's only one kind of addict, my friend. It's a dishonest one. To continue, I'm also in recovery and no addicts are liars. Presenting one face to the public for 10 years and then this story. I now know which one was the lie. This story is not a great love story. It is a spiral of addiction to a rock bottom. One that happened at the same time she was sharing this, quote, love story on social media and with Oprah and on The Moth over at NPR. But it was all a lie. Her love story is a drunkalogue and it's mired in illness and it is nothing to aspire to. Truer words. To cap off this segment, and we're going to keep our eye on Liz. We're going to keep our eye on her as her book comes out during her rollout. We're going to look at Liz right now in a recent YouTube interview talking about, you have to laugh. You have to laugh. Here's Liz talking about the importance of surrounding oneself only with the highest quality people.
I did an event with Rachel Cargill, the great writer and civil rights activist, a couple of years ago. And somebody in the audience asked us, you guys both seem so calm and chilled. You have difficult people in your life. And I started laughing so hard, I literally rolled off my chair. And I was like, yeah. And she said, no, I don't. And I was like, wait, what? And I was like leaning in. I'm like, wait a minute, break that down. And she said, no, I don't have anybody in my life currently who's difficult because I won't do that to myself anymore. The follow-up question in the audience was somebody said, what about people who you have to deal with and you have to have them in your life because they're in your family? And she said, I'm thinking as hard as I can and I cannot come up with a single name of anybody who is entitled to be in my life.
The irony. I mean, who would want Elizabeth Gilbert? What sane, self-respecting person would want Elizabeth Gilbert in their life, let alone their social circle, their network, professional or otherwise? This is my challenge. This is our challenge here at The Nerve. We are laying it down and we are dead serious because we're going to watch all the journalists too, all the talk show hosts. We're going to watch every single one of you. Anybody interviewing this psychopath, my opinion, ask her about her attempted murder plot. Ask her and get details and get chronology and get, do you feel guilt? Do you feel shame if she attempts to laugh it off? Ask her about it. Ask her about buying street drugs. How'd she get them? Did her dealers ever wind up in prison for peddling to the likes of a wealthy, famous white author? Where's our social justice? Where's our radical justice? I can predict that they will not. And here's what I predict. She is going to get a piece, and it's coming, I'm sure of it, on CBS Sunday Morning. She's going to get a sunny, uplifting piece on CBS Sunday Morning, which moves a lot of books. And she's going to be talking to probably a female journalist who is going to be looking at her with admiration, pity, and supplication. Please like me. This is a disease infesting mainstream media right now and legacy media journalists. She will then sit down, I guarantee it, with the mistress of darkness herself, Oprah, over on Oprah's pod. Guarantee it. And then I'm also going to predict Liz Gilbert makes an appearance on Drew Barrymore's show when Drew comes back on September 9th. And I would not be surprised. You know what? It would track. Drew will get down on her hands and knees, as she so often does, in front of people. I mean, nobody deserves that. But like, you know, Drew's going to crawl in Liz Gilbert's lap and say, teach me your ways, you know? Do it. Today's show is brought to you by Oxford Natural, home of the all-natural Optimum Day and Optimum Night supplements. Are you trying to lose weight after having a baby or prepping for your wedding or just ready to feel like yourself again? It's tough, but absolutely possible. Thousands of men and women across the USA and UK are already doing it with Oxford Natural. Their Optimum Day powers you with steady energy, it crushes cravings, and it keeps your metabolism firing all day long. Optimum Night helps you relax, sleep deeply, recover, and keep burning fat while you rest. England's soccer legend Michael Owen lost 40 pounds, and Robbie, the face of AFTV, dropped over 100 pounds. And it's worked for plenty of other people too. And now it is your turn. Scan the QR code or click the link. Grab 70% off, a whopping 70% off your first order with code NERVE. No gimmicks, no needles, just results. Oxford Natural. Let's get to work.